You are in your late 40s or like me in your 50s and you're wildly successful, but you're at the stage where you ask yourself, who am I? To understand who we are, we also need to look at who we are not. Understanding of our shadow and the understanding of our shadow side and understanding shadow work will be one of the most transformative journeys you can embark on. For many, this topic might feel a little mysterious or strange, but together we'll explore what shadow work is, why it's crucial to living a fuller, more authentic life, and how you can start making these changes today. Grab a cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and let's go. Welcome to Her Second Stage, the podcast dedicated to inspiring successful women in the next stage of their lives. I'm Hilda, and I'm excited to share the lessons I've learned as I transitioned into my second stage. Join me on this exciting journey of sisterhood and remembering who we are at our core. Remember, no matter where you've been, the best is yet to come. Shadow work is a recent buzzword many of us have heard about, but from a recent conversation I was involved in, most of the women rated themselves as a 4 in understanding and practicing shadow work. So I decided to talk about it in this episode. My mission is to create more love in the world with the objective to provide perspective and support for you into your amazing second stage of life. Through this discussion, we will discover the aspects we are, the aspects that we hide, and by bringing them to love and light, we can create more love together. What is shadow work, you may ask? Shadow work is the process of exploring the hidden parts of ourselves, the thoughts, emotions, desires, and traits we suppress or deny. These shadows are often aspects of ourselves that society, our families, or even ourselves have judged to be unacceptable or bad. Through these judgments about these parts of ourselves throughout our lives, especially when we're growing up, we pushed these parts down into the shadow in relation to the parts we decide is good and feels good, and those are the parts we show others. We have been conditioned that some parts of us are more likable and lovable than the parts we hide, and we end up only showing the parts that makes us lovable to other people. As we push this less lovable side down into the shadow, we judge it, and it gets forgotten and neglected and becomes part of our unconscious. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it isn't there. It might still impact our lives and our behaviors without us even knowing it. The term shadow comes from Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist who believed that our shadow is the unconscious part of our personality. But here's the kicker. The shadow isn't all bad. Yes, it can hold parts we're ashamed of, like anger or jealousy, but it also contains our hidden strengths, creativity, and passion. So if our shadow is the parts of us that are hidden, then shadow work is about bringing these parts to light, not to judge or fix them, but to accept them, integrate them, and learn from them. If we live from the place where there's nothing wrong, there's no right, there's no good or bad, there just is, then we can look at the stories around experiences, and by changing the stories, we can bring shadow aspects to light and love, heal, and integrate all parts of ourselves. This is the big process of becoming whole. Now you might ask, why would I bother digging in the messy, uncomfortable, ugly stuff? Why can't we just forget about it and focus on the positive? But here's the thing. What we suppress doesn't go away. It shows up in our lives in other ways. Maybe it's an irrational outburst at a partner or a child, or we may avoid taking risks because of fear. Our shadow really controls us and can block us from living authentically and fully. 5 benefits of doing shadow work is that we can break free from old patterns that no longer serves us, cultivate self-compassion and acceptance, strengthen relationships by understanding our triggers, unlocking hidden potential and creativity, and live with greater intention and purpose. Shadow work is the key to self-awareness, and self-awareness is the foundation for change. Whenever our life is in a phase of change, such as what we are in now, it is not uncommon for our shadow side to show up in unexpected ways, to be looked at, not to be ignored anymore. It is in these times of change that we receive the opportunity for getting to know ourselves better, to grow as an individual, and to practice self-love and compassion. Doing so, the gift that we are provided with are more wisdom in our arsenal. The book Existential King tells the story of how our shadow side supports and serves us to stay the same. Staying the same means we do not change, grow, or become whole. Existential King is a great read if you are ready to dive into your shadow side, and I hope by now I've inspired or convinced you that it's worthwhile to do. The amount of energy it takes to manage hiding these aspects of ourselves that we deemed unlovable is enormous. There are numerous examples and personal stories to illustrate how the concept of our shadow work as a king can be used to transform everything from financial struggles to relationship issues. For instance, you can find yourself constantly worrying about money. It could be suggested to examine the hidden parts of yourself that might actually enjoy this worry. Maybe there's a part of you that feels alive and significant when you stress about finances. By acknowledging and embracing this, you can start to release the hold over you and open up to new, healthier patterns. Let me share a story from the book that stood out to me. The author tells a story about a patient who struggles with repetitive patterns of attracting emotionally unavailable partners. Through the process of uncovering her shadow, the client discovered a hidden part of herself that actually enjoyed the drama and excitement of these tumultuous relationships. By embracing the shadow, she was able to break the cycle and start attracting more fulfilling relationships. Every shadow aspect of ourselves can be turned from something we judge about ourselves to something completely freeing and powerful. Let's look at some practical tips and tools to guide you to start your shadow work. There are 6 steps. 1 is creating safety. 2 is radical honesty. 3 is writing down. 4, seek support. 5, become mindful. And 6, use art and creativity. Let's look at number 1, safety. Because shadow work can be quite intense, it's important that you create a safe space and, more importantly, a non-judgmental space for yourself. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted and start writing down parts that you have been hiding. Step 2 is radical honesty. By starting to notice patterns in your behavior, for example, when you are triggered or overly emotional, or what qualities in others annoys you the most. All of these could be clues to your shadow. Start observing what you're afraid to admit about yourself, what are your beliefs about yourself, and the parts that you hide. Be gentle, but be honest. Remember, this honesty with yourself is not for you to judge yourself, but rather understand yourself better and grow love and compassion for all the things you've experienced, and you can learn how they serve you. Journaling is a way to document your inner world and a great way to reflect your insights. As I mentioned before, write the following in your journal. What part of myself do I hide from others, and why? What do I judge most harshly in others? Why do we look at what irritates us about others? Because most often we have blind spots to the things we don't want to look at in ourselves. But almost always, these are the things that hates and irritates in others. This is how our unconscious works to make our shadow conscious. So you might want to look at that and ask yourself, how might that reflect on me? Giving your shadow a voice, so to speak, by writing a letter to that part of yourself that you struggle with, like anger or fear, and see what it needs to say, or what it needs you to know. There's a saying, people don't see you as you are, but as they are. So the same will go. You don't see people as they are. You see them as you are. It is so freeing when we understand that others are merely mirroring us and mirroring the parts of ourselves that are desperate to be seen by us. When you drop the judgment, you can become discerning and you can learn to love. I suggest that you also seek support, because shadow work is not a solo journey. And as a matter of fact, it can be easier when you have support. A therapist, a coach, or community can help you to navigate your insights as you bravely embark on the deep dive into your shadow side of the beautiful you that you are. Whatever method of support you seek, just make sure that you feel safe and it's someone who can hold space for you without judgment. We already judge ourselves harshly enough. We don't need to put ourselves in an environment for more judgment. Safe spaces you create to practice mindfulness will help you to stay present and uncomfortable emotions arise. Try meditations focused on self-compassion or guided shadow work sessions. Imagine sitting with your shadow and having a conversation. What does it want you to know? Sometimes we need to choose moments of solitude to do this. If mindfulness or journaling and using words aren't enough, consider art forms like drawing or painting, or even movement like ecstatic dance, jumping, etc. This can help you express those parts of your shadow that words can't reach. As powerful and important as shadow work is, it's not always easy. And here's a couple of tips for navigating your shadow work journey. Pace yourself. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Shadow work is a long process and journey. In my personal experience, once you start, you will realize that self-work is going to have to be done for the rest of your life. Be kind to yourself. You're uncovering vulnerable parts of yourself. Treat them and yourself with love and care. Feel everything you need to feel in order to embrace every aspect of you. Celebrate growth. Become your own best friend and cheerleader. Even small realizations are victories. Celebrate your courage and commitment to self-awareness. Do for yourself the things you would have done to a best friend doing this work. Remember, shadow work isn't about fixing yourself. You're not broken. You're already perfect. It is purely about becoming whole. It's about embracing every part of who you are, even the parts you thought were messy, too much, or too dark, because within that wholeness lies your power. Thank you for joining me today in Her Second Stage. If this episode resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your reflections, your questions, and even your own shadow work journey. Let's keep this conversation going and inspire each other to step out in the light and our shadow. Please like and share the podcast with friends. Follow Her Second Stage on social media and go to hersecondstage.com for more information about our community and the find downloadable tools to help you along life's journey. Until next time, remember, the most profound transformations come when we're brave enough to look within. Take care and keep shining your beautiful, complex light.